Hey folks, so in this video going to uninstall the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 SE. It's a dual tower, dual fan, and then we're going to reinstall it. Why am I redoing this video? Well, AM5, right? And the other reason when I did this video was kind of zoomed out quite a bit. The other aspect I forgot to explain to people why I had the fans oriented in that video compared to what you see here. So we'll just start over. Now, obviously I never bothered to control my wires a little better or get them, squared away. But hey, that's life. All right, so this is, we're going to disconnect it from the motherboard. And because I'll show you this from start to finish, we've got to disconnect these. Usually they come apart easier. There we go. So you have your Y cable, the fans. Basically on both sides, you're going to pull this out in a way like that, and then voila. There is your fan. There's one of your fans, all right? So, try and keep the clips on there like that because it'll be easier later when we put them back on. So I'll just set that to the side. Same with this guy. Pop that off. And we're good. Now, so you may have found this is on a different channel than the original one as well. I'm trying to get the watch hours up on this channel, and this will be a popular video in comparison to the other stuff that's on this channel. But this is a primarily gaming channel. Where the other channels we do unboxings, bring in a lot of tech. We'll do some reviews. A lot of gaming, but this channel is all gaming. We'll just say 95%. Maybe I'll put that in the disclaimer. 95% gaming, 5% other videos just to get the watch hours up so it can get monetized and I can have my fourth channel monetized. Now, we won't show you this, but we're going to clean that up. Let's get these out of here. Now this would actually be a good time to clean these up. Both the CPU and the CPU cooler. The fact is I don't have the cleaning stuff in front of me, and I'll just go ahead and get this done. Now I had thought honestly about putting a bigger CPU cooler in here. Not that it needs it. This is a 65 watt TDP CPU. And so this CPU cooler is completely overkill for the CPU. One of probably the best thing you need would be, if you're looking at Thermalright, is to just buy their single tower, single fan, 6 heat pipe, if you even need that. All right, so we'll clean this up and we'll get back to it. All right, so, RAM. This motherboard, folks, has 2 bad RAM slots, all right? So, I have enough RAM that I could have filled all 4 RAM slots, but these 2 are bad. And it just so works out. Most of the time when I have bad RAM slots, we are unable to get dual channel. And in this case, though, luckily, that's not a problem. All right, so down here, I've got my power LED, power switch. You can see, you can buy this on Amazon. One of these days I'll remember to put a link down below for it. But you've got a hard drive, power LED, and then the reset switch in there. Now, for what I do with this, folks, I only need the power switch, so I could have bought the single cable. Previously pulled the M.2, which, you know, after you unscrew the end of this, if I can even get that in there, right, you would then, basically, if we had a screw in there, you'd unscrew it and pull this out, all right? So, I was wishing, folks, that I had a bigger drive on this computer. And that's something, you know, if you're interested in buying this, make sure you put a M.2 in it that's going to be good for a long time, right? 256, that fills up so fast. Now, you do have USB Type-C, which if you have a SATA drive that you plug in there, that actually, or Type-C connector, which is encased, has a SATA drive encased, you know, it's still relatively decent speeds for the drive, but putting a, you know, 512 1 terabyte in ahead of time is probably the way to go. All right, so underneath this is the AMD. Wow, it doesn't even want to come out. I don't know if they put tape on this. Quite honestly, we don't need to take this out. This would be the first thing I put in. And it is actually stuck in there. That's interesting. Usually these things pop out. I don't want to damage my motherboard, but I am kind of curious. Yeah, it's either got double-sided tape on it or they've changed the design. So we'll just leave that. Now the CPU itself, pull that lever up, bring this back, and we'll actually change the angle. So the good thing about this now, real easy to install, but you see there's a triangle up here. That lines up with this triangle. And guess what? They wanted to be different than Intel, right? Intel's got their triangle down here. Good thing that's comparative, though. Reading from left to right, if your I/O shield is on the left, you know you have your CPU incorrectly, okay? Now, to do this properly, folks, I would take this out, put it back right away into the plastic container. I would drop this arm down, and then I would put the black cover over top of it, all right? That would then complete this. Where is our black cover? That's a good question. All right, so we found our black cover. And this thing is kind of goofy compared to Intel. You could actually, this fits either way, which is not how Intel is. Theirs goes in only one way. But, you know, you want to line the triangle up. And so that'll protect your pins. I'm not going to do it, but we would put the CPU back in here, right? And that would finish off the uninstall. Now, we want to install this. So, hey, guess what? Let's go ahead and install it. Pop this open. I've got some thermal paste on my finger, which, you know, is bound to make a mess somewhere. All right, so we pop that open. Open that up, and I think this is actually opposite of Intel's too, because I think this comes the other direction, but either way, there's our CPU triangle. You know, once again, matching the triangle up on either the case or the frame, or looking at this, reading it from left to right. Now, this is definitely, you know, not ideal to just drop it kind of like I did there. You want to gently put it in there, but it is in there. If you run your fingers around here, where the green board is should match the gray structure around it, okay? Basically the socket. Now, if we drop this down, if this is like Intel, this thing should pop off on its own, okay? Which it did, and it's locked in there, so we are golden from that aspect. Now, folks, we've got to build this up. So luckily, the backing plate, would get installed first. In my case, it's stuck in there. So now you guys remember how this was on here. So that's one thing to check, right? Is it like this or is it further out? All right. So one must check that, because I personally do not remember. I could rewind the video. There's nothing worse though, folks, than installing this and realizing you did it backwards. But now, if you don't have the instructions in front of you, okay, so you can see that yours truly, if you don't have the instructions in front of you, all right, so that looks like the correct way to do this. Watch it not be. I think in the first video I did, I had them backwards, but it was actually, I posed that as a, hey, how do you tell, right? So if you don't have the instructions, then you could obviously look on YouTube. You could pull it up from the manufacturer. All right, so you want these things to be on here tight. And we're definitely going to check one more time that the CPU cooler will line up with those posts. Now, whatever you do while you're working above the motherboard, make sure you've got a firm grip on your screwdriver, Phillips head, whatever tools you may be using above it. You can damage the motherboard. And if you didn't have a CPU in there, the worst thing that can happen is you drop a Phillips into the socket. I may have done that one time back in the 8th gen, 7th, I guess it was 8th gen Intel days. That was not a good thing, right? That basically wrecked a motherboard for an OEM computer. So it does appear it's in there. We're just going to double check real quick, and then we'll put the thermal paste on. Okay, so it lines up, at least one side lining up. Okay, they're both on. So, not that you should pick the computer up by, or the motherboard up by the CPU cooler, but I just did. So I've got a bag of thermal paste. I'm actually running low. We need to buy some more. We'll use this TF7 and what I used last time seemed to work pretty good. Gold, I believe, is close to 4 to 5 millimeter diameter. In this case, because of the way this is laid out, you only have one way that you can put this on there, and it's pretty symmetrical right down this plane. So that's the good news. The bad news is you can still screw up how you put your CPU fans on. Now, this design does not allow for you to push air out of the case to the top vent. Notice I'm alternating as I tighten this down, trying to get the thermal paste to spread. Now, if you watch the other video, because of the way I have this on my desk, I actually had the fans opposite of what you would do for a case. And I didn't bother to tell anybody that as I did it, which makes this video that much better from the aspect of most of you will be using a case and not testing your stuff out in the open like I do, but it is what it is, right? All right, so there's that, folks. Now let's go ahead and put our RAM on, because you just never know if you'll have issues with the fan being in the way. And I'm going to put these in. Now the RAM can go in only one way. And in this case, the nice side points out. You should have to hear that double click. If you don't hear a double click, then your crap's not going to work most likely. Or one, you know, if you had double click on one set of RAM, the other one's not going to work. All right, so that's done. All right, so first, CPU cooler. So we want to push the air across the CPU cooler, and so this is the exhaust side, that is the intake, and basically, folks, we want to pop this thing in there like so. Now, if you really wanted to work it, you might rotate the fan 90 degrees so that you pick up some of the slack on this guy. I'm not going to do it in this video, but all right, now for our second cooler. So we'll basically do the same thing. Holding on to our clips, we drop this in, and most likely one of your clips will pop out on you as you do this, because this will get snagged on something on the way down. Just as like what's happening to me. So eventually we'll get it into position, and then we will make that movement with both sides. All right. So you're good there. Now for this Y cable. This can go in only one way, like so. And hopefully you didn't miss that. If not, here's another opportunity. This can go in only one way. Boom. All right. Now this is our CPU header, and this also can go in only one way. Hard to do this where you guys can actually see it. Let's see if I can get that angled. And drop in 90 degrees to the motherboard so you don't bend the pins. And that part's good to go. Now, over here, folks, these are the headers for your front panel connectors. Second row, third and fourth pins are the power LED. That is the only ones I'm going to use in this. Did I say power LED? Power switch. All right. So as I break stuff, this is the, in this case, the yellow and white cable. And so we're just going to pop that in there. All right. Now, if you wanted to put the reset switch or the hard drive LED or the power LED, you're more than welcome to do that. So that's going to complete this video, folks. Thanks for checking it out. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you.